As bad as I thought the Venom 2 movie was,
There be Carnage.
I was a huge fan of their designs, especially Carnage's, and with the release of the SH Figuarts figure, I will not be getting it and making a custom figure. I got this clay my dad uses for custom figures, which you can check out what he's done in this YouTube short. And also getting this discounted crow figure off Amazon, and all for a fifth of the price of the Figuarts, I could then begin this process. I've seen a bunch of custom Carnages made in the same way from actual good customizers here on YouTube, so we'll just see how mine goes. I will be going over the process of what I'm doing, so if you want to follow along, go ahead. There will be timestamps in the description. So taking this out of the box, these accessories will be very useful for this custom, which you will see them put to use later. The first step to this will be cutting up the back tendrils and the feet to shape them up. This is my first time making a custom like this, so it turns out it's super easy to cut through this plastic, especially with a new X-Acto knife. So if you're going to be doing any custom involving cutting, please be careful, because I'm going to be honest, my hands had some battle damage going through this. Cutting both sides, you end up with something like this. The idea here is to later glue like this, but I'll talk about this later. Now, cutting up the feet, there are multiple ways to do this. I think I did this in the most simplified way possible. Others decided to cut it up a lot and ended up sculpting the entire front half and the sides of the feet. For the head, you just have to shave off some of the front parts, because sculpting over this head would result in a massive clay head way too big for the body. Now the accessories I mentioned earlier come into play. Here, you take the tips of the tendrils that you feel are appropriate, cut them off, and glue them around the body. You can sculpt these, but I feel that this is both easier and sturdier than clay tendrils. What I did to make this easier was make a little picture like this to map out where the tendrils should go on the figure's body. Like I said, we glue these on wherever appropriate using the shoulder and accessory tendrils, and it should end up looking something like this. Very quick step here, so we move on. Take the clay of your choice, go for more of an epoxy, also bring some water to smooth it out while you're doing this. You mix the two parts together or whatever your instructions are, and you end up with this mixture to start sculpting. So this is super optional for the look, but you can add musculature to the figure, as Carnage is more muscular than Crow. I rolled out kind of thin tubes to stack onto the chest to mimic muscles and the more defined collarbone. This took me a bunch of trial and error, but I think it turned out well. I also added more to the biceps to help with the overall look. Sculpting on the head, I did this in two sections. Here I did the teeth and the bottom half of the face. Hard part here is carving out the teeth kinda. This also had a lot of trial and error. You can see my first attempt here. I wasn't happy with it, so I redid it, and I was more satisfied with this rendition. Not perfect, but it works for what it is, since the paint will help it look better later. I finished off the jaw, and the important part here is a pointed chin for a V-shaped face in the final product. Almost done with the sculpting. I did very simple seed shapes for the toes. Like I said, I didn't want to do all this detail for the feet, so I feel that this is good enough, and this is the final result of the first sculpting session. So instead of sculpting better hands, I just swapped them out. There's a lot of options based on what you have in your collection, so I went with these hands. I just thought they looked better than the crow hands. Funny thing is, removing the other hands from the forearms, I broke it. Luckily, I had another crow to use that figure's forearms, so we had to do a little sacrifice for this custom. Moving back to the head, I did the other half, putting a sheet of clay onto it to cut into the clay to make more details. Very essential to the final look, because this is what differentiates Carnage from Venom other than the color. So just like everything else, the eyes are a very trial and error thing. I had to do this about 4 times before being happy with it. Try not to make them so smooth, since Venom's eyes are more of the smooth outline and Carnage has more jagged and upward lines. Like I said, a V shape is super important to this. The eyes, the upper lip, and the chin play a huge part in making this shape. I don't have that in this footage, so it looks more like Venom, but I will fix it later off camera. Going back to the body for a second session, I rolled out even thinner tubes for a vein look that goes all around the movie symbiote bodies. And if you're gonna do this, make sure to add it all around, not just on the chest. Put it on the abs, put some on the arms and the neck areas. Do your best to connect the veins in a very natural looking way, and it should end up looking like this. Little tease for the final product here, but looking at the head, you can see that I fixed the V shape that I needed. I'm very glad that I did this, because I decided to do it right as the clay was drying. So wait till the clay is dried up completely to move on to the next part, which is painting. So to get a cool look to this, you want to coat the figure in black, essentially putting primer on it for a cohesive look. Make sure you don't put on too thick of paint and just go layer by layer until the figure is a nice black color. Though Crow is mostly black, you want to make sure to put it all around and not miss a part, so that the undercoat is 100% black, and it should end up like this. Now for the real color, take out your red. The point here is to dry brush so that the figure isn't too red, unless that's what you want. For this video, I will be dry brushing. You want to take as minimal paint as you can and just spread it all around. This will take multiple layers, but the end result makes it worth it. I think I had about 4 layers spread evenly to end up with this result here. After those layers, I started to put it around certain parts of the body to accentuate the red more in some parts than others, so just go until you're happy with the result. Painting the head, I messed up at first. I painted it all red and it ended up way too red. Accidents happened, so I went over it in black just to fix it up. Off camera, I started the proper red painting, shaping up the paint to look like the reference images. Going over the eyes, you gotta be very careful since this is a super essential step. Moving to the teeth, I used a mix of brown, yellow, and a not all the way white color. Mixing small parts of them, I went over the teeth slightly to give them a slight wash. So done with the painting for now, I moved to the kitchen for this next part. Here I took the long back pieces from the figure to change their form by putting them in boiling water, then immediately in ice water to solidify their new shape. After a while it ended up working. If you're gonna do this method, make sure to be careful since the water is literally boiling. After this I went back to paint one more time, making the boiled pieces fully black since there is some yellow on them, giving them the same treatment as the body, and going over it again in thin red. Just keep going until it matches the rest of the figure you've painted this far. I didn't fully cover it since it would match my figure. I could have called it done here, but I wanted to go one step further. I placed it outside and sprayed it a few times. I cut it close with weather since they recommend over 50 degrees, but it's okay. And just like that, after a few more coats of the spray, I'm done. So the custom is done and I'm super happy with it. Not the best sculpting work out there, but considering it's my first time really doing this in a while, I'm pretty proud of it. Took me 2 days in total to work on this. Honestly thought it'd be longer, but it makes sense given I worked on it nearly non-stop. I'm glad I swapped the hands out in the end. The texture and the shape really helped. The chest, bicep, and veins ended up looking pretty nice. I'm very happy with the head. I wish I could have touched up the eye outline, but I did not trust my skills for that. For some size comparisons, here is the original Crow figure. This custom movie Venom I made a long time ago. The real movie Venom. This comic Carnage. And this monster Venom with a custom head I made. Just gonna run some footage under this, but that's the video, guys. Let me know what you guys think of the final result. Does it work for you guys? Will you guys make your own? Let me know in the comments. It was a pretty fun project to do. Now, this isn't an original idea. I did get super inspired by a few customizers here on YouTube who made this a while ago, but I did have the advantage of their videos and the SH Figuart being released. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe if you have not already, and I will see you in the next video.